Today, I want to take you through 3 case studies. One is a little bit strange and sort of a view into the mind of PR professionals. And then we're going to look at 2 things that American Express has done, which I think highlight how we're thinking about measurement and how that's starting to evolve a little bit. I was encouraged earlier to know that maybe I'm not entirely as crazy as I thought I was. Oops. Oh, there we are. Okay. Because I think, a lot of the conversations we've had about how are you talking to your own people, how are you convincing your own people about how you want to approach measurement, I feel pretty good about this. So this is not all entirely sort of me transferring my own sort of lack of self-confidence onto everybody else, but I'll be interested to hear what you think. So let's take a look into the mind of a PR person or how a communications professional behaves. And before I do that, there's limited audience participation in this, but please play along with me if you can. So if I were to say to you, if there was a problem, come on, somebody's got this. Yo, I'll solve it, right? That's why Vanilla Ice is up here. Nobody's from the 90s here? Okay. We think that we can do anything. We think that if somebody comes to you with something, we have this problem, as a PR or a communications professional, what can you do to help me solve this? We are the trusted advisor. That's what we want to be, right? And so the role of being a trusted advisor, we have to know a little bit about everything, and we want to get our hands dirty into as much as we can. The problem with that is we also have a very big lack of self-confidence. We need to be loved, and we want people to say, you like me, you really like me, for those who didn't watch this in the Oscars whenever 20 years ago. So we need to be loved. We need that reassurance. We need people to value the work that we're doing. And I think a lot of times that gets us distracted on the things that are going to be the most effective for us to do in the communications field. We go into situations where we have to prove our worth. We have to go into these boardroom discussions in a way that our marketing friends don't, or particularly our sales friends. They say, okay, well, I'm going to sell this amount of units, and if I don't, then fire me, and if I do, give me more money. We have a much harder sort of case to make, and I think sometimes that breeds a little bit of a lack of confidence. And I think that's come out earlier today in terms of how we're, these metrics that we're coming up with, this measurement capability that we now have, we have to convince our businesses of that. And I think sometimes they're a little bit skeptical, and we need to overcome a bit of that skepticism. One of the problems that we face is that we don't always speak the same language as our folks in the business. So we know what all of these things mean, but that's not how we talk. We're external communicators. We want people, normal people, to understand what we're talking about. By the way, synergized backward overflow is another way of saying layoffs, but it's from a US TV show. So this is just, we have to change the way we're talking. And I think sometimes too, again, because of that need to prove ourselves, because we feel like we have to work a little bit harder to prove the value of what we're doing, sometimes we get focused on a little bit of the wrong thing, and we try and prove something that maybe we shouldn't prove, when actually there's a lot of value in sort of our core set of responsibilities, or the things that communicators traditionally have done. So right now we're going to do a little. This is the audience participation part because you let me down on Vanilla Ice. But so this is a phrase that I'm sort of hearing more of, and I want to know who has heard this. If you can't measure it, we shouldn't do it. Has anybody heard this? Some people. Okay, I'm seeing that more and more within the communications profession, and I think it's a little bit dangerous. How many people here have kids or pets or somebody or something that they care about? Okay, this is good. All right, so studies have shown all over the world that the value of hugging your kids or petting a cat or a dog or giving your loved one a kid, that there's value in that physical contact. That giving somebody a hug over the long term is going to improve health, well-being, social adjustment, all of these different things. Can you tell me, if someone were to come and, Marion, if I were to give you a hug right now, could you tell me exactly what benefit that's going to have on your ability to earn a greater salary in a year? Could you tell me exactly how much happier your life is going to be because of that? It's hard to measure the value of one hug. It can't be done. PR is the hug. And I win with this because it's cute. But this is what we do. Over the long term, our real value comes into how are we hugging our customers? How are we giving them the right sort of the messages? How are we building that narrative that makes their lives better? It's much harder to prove in a tactical, in this instance, this piece of coverage had this effect. So I don't want to get, certainly my team, and I would encourage all of us, don't get caught up in that way of thinking that everything that we're going to measure has to have a very specific outcome. Now, they can have outcomes, and I'll get a bit into that, and this is sort of what I was talking earlier on the panel about how we're adjusting to this new set of measurement. We're adjusting, so we're tweaking our approaches all the time to make sure that we're getting better and better over time at helping our businesses to get to what they need. So I'm pretty much done with funny pictures now. We'll talk a little bit. There's just a couple of case studies that I want to take you through to demonstrate how we've thought about that. So the Platinum Card is American Express's. It's one of our top tier products, and it's popular in markets all over the world. But it can be difficult to acquire because it has a very high annual fee. I mean, who wants to pay $1,000 for a credit card? I do because I work there, and maybe some other people here do. But how are you getting people to see the value of that product and to identify with your brand? So we did a little test where we thought that taking a particular approach to PR, modeled very much off of the McKinsey customer decision journey, that our efforts in PR, the work that we uniquely could do in PR, would help to drive greater card acquisition in Australia. And so we started off, I'll show you in a second, but we started very broad. This was not a marketing, this piece of content was not a marketing piece of content. This was a brand and a PR piece of content that we developed.
I was 15 years old when I knew I wanted to be a chef. Denmark is ideal for a place like Noma because I wanted to be in a city, but I also wanted proximity to nature. The local area inspires our cooking completely. Everything that we do is about distilling our area and our people, our culture. Having 4 times been voted the #1, that gives you unbelievable new opportunities. It has literally changed not only our restaurant forever, but the region. Copenhagen is full of nooks and crannies for secret escapes and inspirational places. Go to restaurants, go to Manfred's, go to Relais, visit the coffee shops. The wine bars here are exceptional. Start with that, on the water and on a bike. That's the best way to enjoy Copenhagen, without a doubt. My favorite restaurants in the world, AMEC in Copenhagen, that's one of my favorite ones. There's a place in Tulum in Mexico, it's called Heartwood. Everything cooked on fire. I want to explore Japan. Japan is interesting for so many reasons. They keep pushing it forward. The traditions never become stale. Defining living in Copenhagen in one word: easy.
So the thinking behind this, American Express didn't come up in this until the very end of the video. And it is a pretty long video to be used in social media, I'll give you that. But we don't even talk about the Platinum Card at all. And the thinking was, we want to show people we want to show people content that they're going to engage with and that they're going to like. And then we will then track them. If they watch that video, they'll go into the next side and we'll give them something that's a little bit more targeted. We'll talk about, here, I'll go back and just show you again. Oh, please don't make me watch this video again. We'll show you something that's a little bit more targeted about when we will actually mention the Platinum Card. At that point, we're still going to have you tracked, and we're going to serve you the last piece, which is very much a marketing message. Get this card now. And so looking at, these are some of the results, and some of them are, I've withheld some of them, but I'll tell you what they are so you can write them down. But these are data that is used. How many people are watching this? We're getting hundreds of thousands of people to actually watch this video. It's not a marketing message. It's just in Australia, but people are watching it long enough that we can know, okay, we think that they're going to think more, they're going to consider our brand, and they're going to think a little bit better about it. So we can prove that. If you think about the number of impressions, the number of video views, all of these things are helping us to build that broader picture of what American Express is, and to have people be a little bit more receptive to our brand. Now, the next piece is a measurement that is, so this is where we've done something good and where I think we did something bad in terms of the way that we approach this, but we did learn from it, is the cost. Now, this is the cost of promoting all of these ads on social media. So we created the content, and this is the cost that we had to promote it. What we did not include in here was the cost of production of the video. And we thought that we could get away with that because it was produced in London and not in Australia, so maybe we didn't have to count it. But that's what I mean about you need to be careful with your business folks, because that will ultimately skew the overall cost of the program. Still a good program, and then you see cost per click and all the other stuff we've done. These are measurements that are important to marketing people. They're important to your business leaders, and they're as a direct result of the work that we did in communications. Now, the purpose of the test was how many cards did we acquire, and what was that cost per card acquisition? We acquired about 24 cards. Okay, that's not a lot, but considering that you make, the annual fee on one of these cards is just over $1,000 US in Australia. Okay, well, we're going to see this sort of the revenue from that. But that's not why I would pick this. That's not the statistic that I would want to highlight with the business. We are not acquisition people. We aren't card acquisition people. We help to make people more receptive. That's why I said we're the hug. We have a team of people who spend a lot of money and know exactly how to acquire the most amount of cards. That isn't what PR is. And as I said earlier, we have to make sure that we're focusing on the right sort of measurements. So did we acquire some cards? Sure we did. Could it be a benefit of the PR activity that we do that we're going to acquire more cards? Yes, but as I was saying earlier in terms of lead generation, what's the quality of that lead? How effective are we doing, and can we scale that up in a real meaningful way? So we learned a little bit about what we did here, and then we pulled this up into Hong Kong towards the end of last year in December. And we had just launched a new product with IT, which is they're a fashion brand in Hong Kong, a couple hundred outlets. They tend to be a little bit different consumer demographic than American Express would traditionally have, so skewing younger, very fashion forward. And we wanted to see whether or not we could boost acquisition on this product. So a similar approach, and what we did was we created content that was meant to engage people. Again, it didn't talk about the product. It didn't talk about American Express. I'll show you an example in a minute for those who can't read traditional Chinese. It just shows, it's just style tips. We ran 4 videos across about a month. We didn't have to spend a lot of money. And then we would then retarget the people who watched that video, give them a more specific Facebook post on the IT product, following that up with the final step, which was an actual card application. So again, that's just another example. This is work that communications people do and that PR people do. It isn't necessarily, that's not a marketing feel of a video, and it takes a bit of a risk to actually convince somebody to show something, to spend the money on producing a video or produce a piece of content that doesn't actually mention your brand until the very, very end. So here are the results of this program. Again, very, very good reach, and I think that's the most valuable thing for me over time. A lot of people watched this video, and a lot of people engaged with it. They shared it, and we knew that they were seeing it. So in In this instance, in this one program that we've run for the first time, can I say that this is having a huge impact on our brand relevance? No, not yet, because we haven't done it yet over time. We haven't continued to build this sort of program into our normal communications activities yet. But we know that, and the other thing we haven't done is we haven't measured what is the effect on our brand health. How are people reevaluating our brand because of this program? So you get down, phase one, initial consideration, active evaluation, and then the actual acquisition. This was a little bit better for us because we had a lot of people who started card applications. Hundreds of people started card applications, but they didn't actually complete the application. Only a handful completed and actually signed up for a new card. So on the face of it, was it a success in proving that PR can drive card acquisition? No, but why it was really successful is because we highlighted that we have a problem in our card application process that is forcing a lot of people to drop the application. We're giving up business. So then we can go back and look at that and say, okay, well, why are you not completing the application? Is it too hard? Are we asking you too many questions? Is the offer not good enough? Then we can go back and we can retool our acquisition for this product. Again, it's based off of our PR activity. We wouldn't have discovered it if we hadn't started approaching things in this way. Now, there's a third, there's a third example that I'd use, and it's only just happened, but we did a similar thing in Singapore. And what we found there is actually we've added too many steps. You really only need one step to engage people, and then you can go ahead and get them to apply for a card. We didn't think, because the customer decision journey says you have to go through 3 stages. We figured, well, let's do it. You really only need to go through 2. I think what's very effective is that initial hug, making people feel good about your brand and identify with your brand, and then you can go ahead. Then you have their permission to sign up for business. Now, where I want to take this, and again, we're not there yet. We're still figuring out how does this work. But where I want to take this is I think that by engaging people this way and with this sort of content, over time, I'll be able to prove that if you've seen these videos and you've seen the content that my team has created, that you're going to be a more engaged customer. You're going to spend more with us. You're going to be more likely to be a brand advocate. Your net promoter score is going to be higher. All of those things are defined business metrics that are part of our marketing and sales team's scorecards. And so that's where it's going to start to line up. And we're not there yet, but we're getting there. And I think that's, I think that it absolutely can be done. We can create content that can be measured in a way that is going to provide real value to each of our businesses. So here's Maria von Trapp doing her little I Have Confidence dance from that movie. There we are. Any questions?
Hi, my name is Anna. I'm from Lenovo, Singapore. So I have a question about content. And you talked a lot about brand content, and you're using it on social. So actually, I have 2 questions. First, how do you measure content? How do you get insights to create better content for social? What are the key metrics that you're using? And second, it's a more philosophical question. If the video that you've shown, like really long for social, and then you have brand point at the end of it, when most people drop off on social. So how do you approach this problem? Because we also do lots of storytelling videos with very similar structure. And when I measure, I have a real issue on what kind of insight would be useful for content production team for brand video when there's no product, no features, but then people probably would not wait to see the brand. So how do you approach this?
Sure. So to get to your first question, we develop content, there are things that have been proven over time to be pretty effective. So make it short, make it funny, and the benefit is it doesn't cost a lot of money to make this sort of stuff. So if we need to tweak it, or if we've developed something and it's not for the right audience, we can be pretty agile and we can change it quickly. Your second question, I think I would answer is the video has to be useful to somebody. And there's a guy whose name is Jay Baer. He wrote a book called Utility, Y-O-U utility. And he talks a lot about, he's a marketer, and he talks about, why do people engage with things? Exactly, why do people engage like this? Why are people gonna stick around for 90 seconds to watch a video? Because it's useful to them. So what does useful mean? It's helping them to identify with a lifestyle that they're interested in. So if you're a foodie and Rene Redzepi is the hottest chef in the world or one of them, that's going to be useful to me because it's entertaining. Entertainment is a use. We did a series of videos in the United States where we were just giving like everyday life tips on like how to get stains out of clothes or how to recycle more effectively, things like that. Has nothing to do with American Express until the very end, but that's a useful video. One of the greatest things that I'm seeing right now on Facebook, like where they've got the little 30-second recipes, where they just show like, oh my, here's a cheeseburger stuffed with a beer and cheese, and you just want to eat it. But it's like, well, that's really easy. I want to make that tonight. So that's how I approach it, or I think we should approach it. Is it useful to your customer? That's going to get them to keep watching it, and that's going to get them to associate with your brand a little bit more effectively.
Thank you.
I think,
Microphone here,
anyway.
please.
Thank you, Fritz. Your comment about the customer decision journey was really interesting because we have this legacy reliance on assuming there are many steps in it. You're talking about basically provoke and offer. Are you finding a difference by market there? So, do you need more steps in some markets compared to others that are more provoke and offer straight away?
I don't know. So a lot of the work that we've done in terms of measurement that I talked about earlier, and a lot of the work that you saw here, Ogilvy helped us to do a lot of that. So thank you, Marion. And I have to give credit where it's due. We haven't tested enough of it in the same market. So my sense is that, yeah, this would probably work everywhere. I think immediately after we started running the test in Hong Kong, we had a conversation with our country manager there, and we both came to that conclusion, like, why are we doing 3? Let's just do 2, or let's even do 1. What's to stop us from doing a nice piece of brand content, and if you've made it all the way through the end and you click to find out more, okay, we could do that. That might work more in a B2B setting than I think in a B2C setting, which a lot of this is focused on. But so I don't know yet. We need to find out more. My sense is probably, because who has the time? But that's just a hypothesis. So I don't know yet.
Okay. Fritz is going to be with us all day. So if you Ben Levine's
and you don't have to see me up here again, so good for you.
Yeah, just one quick question for you, Fritz. So I know you talked a lot about PR being the hug and kind of building relationships and making customers more receptive and not being focused on acquisition, but I wonder, does any of the insights that you draw from your evaluation, do you then feed that to the acquisition team to help make their jobs earlier? And you can talk about how that's done?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the development of these, we're working with our acquisition teams quite closely. And is what I was talking about earlier in Hong Kong, finding out that we actually have a problem where people will start an application, but they won't complete it. So you can uncover quite a bit about, is that process too clunky? Are we looking at the right audience segments? With custom audiences and everything, we can target these products. Hong Kong and Singapore is more difficult, but in Australia, you can target suburbs, you can target square blocks, and really get, are we focusing on the right customers? Are we getting the right sort of spend engagement with them right away? So yeah, it's a constant. They're at the development stage, they're in the implementation stage, we're keeping them updated throughout in terms of this is when the product's running, this is how it's performing, how do you think we should tweak it, are you seeing increased call volumes, all that sort of stuff.
Okay, thank you. So our thanks to you, Fritz, for this session.
Thank you.
He's going to be with us all day. If you have any more questions, please thank Fritz.
Thanks.
Thank you.